No, I got plenty of time. I'm not filming till later. Yeah, it's got plenty of time. Don't worry about it. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek Deep Thoughts Thing Goes with me, Phil the Glacial Geek. Today, I want to talk about the topic that I think is on a lot of people's minds, and you can see it in a lot of comments that people have online, and a lot of the discussion as Ninth Edition is now rolling out, fully rolling out. We're starting to see a lot more codexes come out, is the concept of Codex Creep and what it means to the game, and kind of what we're seeing in Ninth Edition and what we're, in my opinion, not seeing in Ninth Edition. So a lot of people, this has been going on for many years throughout the history of, I think, Warhammer 40k, is the concept of Codex Creep, that as a new codex comes out, it's the new hotness, it has more power, it's stronger and dominates until the next book comes out, and so on and so on and so on as it goes along. And this has been pretty standard for a lot of the game throughout the history of Warhammer 40k. And it was always more prevalent, especially back in the day when you would have the same codex over the course of multiple editions, and the book wouldn't change much, and you would be left with books that didn't really work as well with the new systems, and that new ideas and new things came out, and it could be years before you got a new book. But I honestly believe that Ninth Edition is going to be, and so far has been, the best edition so far for countering the concept of Codex Creep. And before everyone gets upset, I know that right now the way it is, that the game isn't necessarily balanced across every single faction as it is, but I think the reason that is because their new books have not come out. So, for instance, if you were to go play a Genestealer cult army against a brand new Dark Angels army or a Death Guard army, you'd have a hard time as a Genestealer cult person. And I mean, I've got a gajillion Genestealer cults back there waiting for their new book to come out to really do anything on the tabletop. But that's the key point, is that I'm waiting for the new book to come out. Because you're right, there is a gap in power between the new Dark Angels book and the old Genestealer cult book. But I think that any of the new books, if you place them up against each other, everyone, they have a fair chance of winning. If you have a good player who was able to craft a good list, who makes good decisions, that makes tactical decisions, and plays the game right, you will be able to do well. You know, if I come at you, of course, if I come at you with a weaker list than my opponent, then I might still have more trouble, regardless of how I play. But if I was playing someone of equal playing skill to me with an equal list, and they brought Necrons, I brought Dark Angels, or I brought Necrons and they brought Death Guard, I think that both armies would have a fair chance of winning. And it all comes down to the way the armies play, that they're going to play differently, they're going to go for different objectives, they're going to go for different things. And that is, in my opinion, a very well-balanced game. And I think that Ninth Edition is panning out to be the most balanced edition that we have seen in a very long time, if not ever. It's my most enjoyable edition so far with the way they have things. And I think that the balance has been reached far better in this edition than it has in previous ones. So you look at a lot of these things and you hear people complain about the new books, that how Mortarion is unbeatable and he's just OP broken, or that the Dark Angels Deathwing having basically having transhuman physiology on them all the time is basically just broken. I honestly, the way that the rules have been crafted and the way that they have the points, yes, they're strong. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that having Deathwing Terminators that have transhuman physiology basically is strong, is very strong. I'm not going to deny that. I don't think anyone would. But at the same time, I don't think it's broken because of the way they play. You know, if you wanted to bring an all Terminator army as an Ultramarine and you went up against my all Terminator army as a Dark Angel, yes, I would probably be in a better position to win as the Dark Angel player. But that's why you don't bring an all Terminator army as an Ultramarine. So that's where I think that a lot of the differences in how the armies operate has been broken down, and why I believe that the Dark Angels Codex is possibly the Codex supplement is the best Codex supplement that they've come out with, because of how they allow their armies to be specialized. Not because they're more powerful, not because they're just a better army, although I do think so because they're coolest. But as far as the rules go, the reason I think it's the best Codex supplement is because it allows you to play lists that are very fluffy, very lore adherent, that will allow you to play an all biker army that the Raven Wing would come in and attack and do very well doing it. And I think you can go into the all Deathwing Terminator army list and they will do well on the tabletop. It allows you to play your armies that have been in and part of the game for a long time and actually have them perform relatively decently on the table. And I think that's the balance that you should be looking for in the game. You shouldn't look for them to balance the new books off of the old books. I think what you need to look at is how they're balancing the newer books in this edition off of the older books in this edition. And two of the first ones that came out, the Space Marine Codex and the Necron Codex, are very strong books, and they're still very strong books. I think that they have ways of handling each other, and they have ways of being able to play on the table in a very fun and interesting and dynamic way. And the best way to look at it is you look at the results that have been happening out in tournaments. I mean, there's been very few tournaments because of everything that's going on, but even from that small data set, you can see that there is a wide range of results for a lot of these armies. If it was all Codex Creep, then at the very beginning you would have seen only Necrons winning and only Space Marines winning. And then as it went on, you would have only had Space Wolves and only Blood Angels and only Death Watch and only Death Guard and only Dark Angels. But that's not the case. They're all performing very well because of the way their new books are written and the way the new books have their new rules. But the other armies are going to get books, and they've already been written with all of this in mind. They've been working on 9th edition for a long time, and all of the armies are getting a complete rewrite. They're going from the ground up. I mean, Dark Angels don't look anything like old Dark Angels. Death Guard don't look anything like old Death Guard. All of the new books have come out and made their armies look very different in a very positive way. They've made it fun. They've made it interesting. There's a lot of people working things out. There's no set list that everybody brings for each of these armies. And that makes for a very fun and enjoyable system. A very fun and enjoyable game for people to play. So when you're talking about Codex Creep, don't look at the 9th edition books versus the 8th edition books. Look at the 9th edition books among themselves and see how they perform. Is everybody suddenly throwing out their Space Marine armies to pick up Death Guard armies? No. Is everyone throwing out their Necron armies to pick up Dark Angels armies? No. In fact, some of us are picking up both. But that's just the way it is that people now are going to have, I believe, and I honestly have faith going forward with the way these books have come out, based upon what we've seen with the ones that have come out already, that the new books are going to be stronger than the 8th edition books, but that they're looking to find a balance. In 8th edition, I think that the Space Marines had a leg up on a lot of the other armies. And if you look at it, the Necrons got a huge boost from where they were in 8th edition with their 9th edition book. The Space Marines did not get a huge boost. They got a pretty relatively easy, gentle boost in some places where they got nerfed down. And I think it was a good balancing that the Space Marines got in general. If you look at the Dark Angels book, it's a very strong book, and it's the best Codex/Codex supplement that we've had, in my opinion, ever. But that's because the Dark Angels were the lost, forgotten Astartes of 8th edition. They were probably the weakest out of all of them. Maybe the Space Wolves were fighting for them, but even their new book is very strong. So you look at these and you go, oh man, Dark Angels got a huge buff. And it's like, yes, they did, because they were very weak and they were having trouble and they were struggling. You look at the way the Death Guard book got written, they're very strong now, but they made changes to the way they work, and they made changes to how the system works, such as changing the way things work with the cultists, the way things work with the poxwalkers, the way things work with Disgustingly Resilient, to tweak it, to change it, to adjust it, to hit a certain level of strength and power that I think they're gunning for with all of the books, and that I think all of the books have so far reached. I don't think there's a single one that's been released so far that has been disappointing. If you were looking to become like the greatest OP master force available, then yes, maybe you were disappointed. But that's because I think your expectation was off. Not because the book itself wasn't strong, not because the book itself wasn't flavorful, not because the book itself wasn't enjoyable. And it's that expectation of becoming the OP powerhouse that I think has people disappointed in their own books, and looking at the new books compared to their old books from an old edition that has people worried about Codex Creep and power gaming. I really don't think that I don't see anything and any evidence in any of these books that shows a creep in Codex power. I see a rebalancing. I see a power level that is being reached that, yes, I will agree is higher than 8th edition books, but that is equal to their contemporaries, is equal to the other 9th edition books. And everyone's getting one. Everyone's getting a revamp. Everyone's getting a relook and a restructuring of their book. And I think that by the time that all the codexes come out, hopefully, obviously they're coming out slower than they had hoped to because of COVID restrictions and issues with production. But I think once they all come out, you're going to see a power level where all of the books reach, and that you will have the ability to field whatever arm you want and have an expectation that you can perform and that you can compete. Not every list will. Like if I decided that I only wanted to bring, if I only wanted to bring Necron Warriors and I didn't want to bring anything else, and that's all I wanted to bring, yeah, I would probably struggle against something like a Mortarion. I might struggle against something else. Although, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, all warriors would be fun. And I think it would be pretty good with holding objectives if you just flooded the field with Necron warriors. But I think that if you look at it, and if you want to take a certain list that just doesn't work, then yes, you might be disappointed. But I think that there's a lot of versatility that you can have in lists, and that there's no real situation where auto takes are a thing anymore. I think there are some that are very strong that, I think I'm probably going to, every one of my tournament lists is going to have Deathwing Knights, just because A, I think they're rad, and B, I like how I envision using them and the role that they can play for my army. But, even with the Dark Angels, they made some changes to rein in a lot of the strength that they gave. So now the Terminators, yeah, they have transhuman physiology, but they took away the combined assault so that you don't have to worry about the Dark Angels making a 6-inch charge on turn 2. Now now they have to have a chaplain that gets into place to give them a 7-inch charge, which is, I know it doesn't, it's far from impossible to make, and is better than a 9-inch charge, but it's still with that idea of making tweaks and changes to an army and a change to their rules to help balance the power to a level that they think is good. And I think they've succeeded in it. I think that a lot of the people that are, you look at a lot of the people that are looking at these books and talking about these books, and none of the discussion is talking about how, from anyone who's not trying to compare it to, say, like the Tyranid 8th edition book, or someone that's not trying to compare it to the Genestealer Cult 8th edition book, nobody's looking at these new books and saying that they're OP. Nobody. Even the people who are playing them, the Dark Angels fans out there are very happy with the book, but no one's saying that they're ridiculously overpowered, and no one's looking at the Necron book and saying they're ridiculously overpowered. No one's looking at the Death Guard book, and honestly, if they're honest with themselves, saying that they're ridiculously overpowered. I think that they're all strong, but that they're all strong on the same level with each other. And I think that's what you look for. And I think that having a lot of tools and having a lot of things that you can do with a book makes for a fun book, and is going to make for a fun edition going forward. And what you need to do is try to find that balance where they can balance between each other, and not necessarily balance to where the game was. You don't want 9th edition books to be balanced for 8th edition codexes. If so, then just stick with the old 8th edition codex. Just leave it the way it was. There's no point in making new books, no point in making a new system if you're not looking to change, if you're not looking to grow, you're not looking to innovate with the system. And I think that so far, they've done a great job of innovating with the system and making changes and tweaks that honestly, I wouldn't have foreseen. I wouldn't have thought to give the Deathwing Terminators transhuman physiology. I wouldn't have thought to change Disgustingly Resilient. I would not have thought to change Scouts to Elites. I would not have thought to make the protocols for the Necrons. But I mean, that's why I'm not a rules writer for GW. And I think that they've done an incredible job with the rules team over there. Have done an incredible job of making really great books that are flavorful and that are fun to play with. And I mean, I'm just very much looking forward to the day when I can get back to playing with them. You know, I've got ideas for my Necrons. I've got ideas for my Dark Angels. I've got ideas for my Death Watch, you know, that I want to try to get out there and play with them more. And I want to get out there and throw them on the table. And same thing with my Blood Angels, like all of it. It's just every book that comes out, all these things make me excited to play the game. And I think that's what you want in a new edition. That's what you want from these new books. That's what you want from these codexes. You don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to be frustrated. You don't want to sit back and go, this is, you know, that this is not going to be fun. Because there were a lot of times back in the day when you would be stuck with a book for years that just wasn't fun. You know, and there's nothing that you could expect it to change. And I think they've done a great job of making those changes with this new edition. And going forward, I think, you know, who knows? I could be completely off. And that the next book, when the Dark Eldar book comes out soon, that I could look at it and go, oh, never mind, this is ridiculously over the top. Or I could go the other way and go, oh, well, better luck next edition, Dark Eldar, you know? But so far, looking at all the books that have come out in the last 6 months or so, since the Necron and Space Marine Codex come out, none of them have been disappointing. And none of them have been upsetting. And none of them have been just game breaking. And I think that's what we have to look forward to, because that's the standard they've set so far. And I mean, until proven otherwise, I don't have a reason to believe that they're going to change that. So those are just my thoughts for this. I just wanted to talk about it. What are your thoughts? I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts. And let me know down in the comments what you think about this. What do you think that, you know, the new Dark Angels book is broken OP, or whether you think that Necrons are already a thing of the past, or what you hope to see coming out in your book that's coming out, and what changes do you want to see tweaked and made to make them comparable to what's already been out, and not the OP brokenness of the future. So let me know what you think down below, and keep it going. I know a lot of us are not able to play games right now, but hopefully there's a lot of hope coming out in 2021 that we will eventually be able to hit the tables again and be able to meet up with each other and roll dice again soon enough. And I know some people are out there doing it safe, and as long as they're doing it safe, more power to you. But hopefully all of us can get back and do it at some point this year as we keep going. So just keep strong with each other, and we can hopefully get through this together and be excited to play with our new books once we can get back at the tables. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I have been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.